once you think about all the experiences you can have while traveling and learn about the resources that are out there. There's tons of Facebook groups for people that are expats in these major cities, and you can just join those and before going and be like, hey, I've got 3 kids, here's their ages, like, do you have any meetups or mom support groups or things like that? And odds are there are. And it's that infrastructure is already there with other people that are already doing this, and they can help you along the way. The other thing is just think about, what are your long-term goals? What do you want your life to be like? And do you want to be like tied in one place all the time? Some people like that. They like being close to their family. They like having deep roots in an area. For us, we kind of moved quite a bit over our careers. Like we were in California and Virginia and Tennessee. And so like we weren't living close to family. We didn't really have like strong roots or ties to any particular place. And so it was a little bit easier for us in that respect to just say, hey, we're going to travel internationally now.
Welcome to the Ronin Mindset podcast. My name is Steve Didier, and this is the podcast where we have conversations with modern day Ronins, the wanderers, the vagabonds, the global citizens, the digital nomads, those people who have broken free from the matrix and are living life on their own terms. And today you are going to learn a lot from my guest. Harley Green is a seasoned real estate investor, entrepreneur, and former software architect who balances business success with personal fulfillment. Now living a fully digital nomadic lifestyle with his wife and 3 children, Harley manages multiple businesses remotely while traveling the world. Harley Green, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on. I know you are relatively new to the fully digital nomad lifestyle, but one of the things that kind of really stood out to me when we talked earlier was you're doing a fully nomadic traveling the world and you've got a wife and 3 kids. That has to bring some really interesting challenges with it.
It does. It has a lot of ups and downs. I'll say there's unique logistical challenges. It's probably the biggest one. But it does come with huge advantages. It's been a blessing for the kids to explore new cultures. We're learning new languages together and just having a fully integrated family life.
Yeah. No, I personally, I don't have any kids, but I've got 4 younger brothers and sisters and 14 nieces and nephews, and I think it would be absolutely amazing for any kid that they can experience getting outside of what they're accustomed to and really embracing other cultures and learning all those different things. It's got to be really a neat thing for your kids.
Yeah, I would say they're getting a full, schooling just on the experiences we're getting traveling, the places we're seeing. And of course, we do cultural things, educational things when we're in different locations, hitting up the museums, going to the aquariums, things like that, the zoos. In addition, we also do an online curriculum for them as well. So they've got a more rigorous and defined program that is, making sure they're staying up to date with all the standards for what ages they are. But I'm really excited to see the adults they turn into after having this kind of experience because it is unique.
Yeah, I think they'll be much more well-rounded, I believe, for having experienced all this. And how old are they at the moment?
Yeah, I've got 3 kids. The oldest is 8, and then I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Oh, wow. Okay, so they're not like teenagers or anything.
No, they're young, and there's an advantage to that right now because we can all fit into like one taxi because the youngest is small enough you can just like sit on a lap and especially where we've been traveling in Latin American countries, they don't care about making sure everyone has a seatbelt. And so logistically that makes it a lot easier. If they're, teenagers, they'd be like, okay, well, we got to get 2 Ubers or 2 taxis everywhere we go.
Yeah. And where are you at right now? You said Guadalajara, Mexico?
Yeah, we just arrived to Guadalajara. We spent a couple months in the Puerto Vallarta area before that. And then before coming to Mexico, we were spending 3 months in Colombia.
Okay. We're at in Colombia.
Yeah, so we split our time between Cartagena and Medellin, and then we spent a couple weeks hopping around coffee country south of Medellin.
That sounds amazing. I've spent some time personally in Colombia. I spent about 3 weeks there, but it was more all down in the Cartagena, Barranquilla area. So I didn't make it up to Medellin, but that's very soon on my list. I was looking at flights the other day from here. I'm in Monterrey, Mexico, and they're cheap, 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 cheap.
Yeah, that is something we loved about Colombia and Medellin, especially, is just like the cost of living there was amazing. Like we could take our whole family of 5 out to eat anytime we wanted. Didn't really have to think about it because you could get really high quality, homemade, freshly made food. And, for a family of five, we could get that for maybe 30, 35 US dollars equivalent.
Wow. Yeah, the exchange rate is phenomenal. I think last time I checked it was around 4,100 to one or
Oh,
something.
yeah, it's been crazy the last week. It's gone from like 3,900 when we were there a few months ago. It's up to like 44, 4,500 pesos per US dollar now. So it's a great time to go to Colombia if you've got US dollars.
Yeah, I can imagine. So with the kids, places like Medellin have this reputation for the different, more adult type entertainment aspects. But being there as a family man, what was your experience?
Yeah, we were definitely kind of concerned about that. And honestly, we were blown away. The Colombian culture is very, very family friendly. We would walk out all the time, every day through the city, going through different neighborhoods, some that maybe were a little rougher than we anticipated, and never felt unsafe or uncomfortable. If we were like stopped at a corner looking at our phones, people would stop and ask if they could help us, navigate somewhere. They were super friendly. They always loved our kids. They'd say like, "Oh, okay, lindo monos," things like that, and just really made us feel comfortable there. I would not hesitate to take kids there. They had a lot to do. They have a zoo. They've got tons of museums, lots of great parks. There was even like a family meetup that we went to. It met like every Thursday in a park that was about a mile walk from our apartment, and could do like Spanish exchange there, as well as give the kids a chance to play and socialize with other kids their age.
That's amazing. I think that's important for people to know, especially for people who are a little bit older or maybe have families like yourself and might shy away from Colombia for a variety of reasons. I find it funny because I've spent a lot of time in Mexico, and I was leaving from Mexico to go to Colombia for that 3 weeks, and all my Mexican friends were like, "Joe, you need to be careful, man. Colombia is dangerous." And then I get to
Yeah.
Colombia, and I got friends in Colombia, and they're all like, "Man, I can't believe you're in Mexico. It's so dangerous."
It's sad how
So,
there's so many stereotypes and just, people have limiting beliefs, unfortunately. And, we saw that too from our friends in the US and family members when we're like, yeah, we're going to start out in Colombia. They're like, what? And it's like, it was great. In fact, when we started in Cartagena, they have like tourist police we just kind of wander the tourist areas along the beach. And there was a great beach right in front of the condo that we were staying in. So we'd spend a lot of time there. And like the first time we were doing that, they came up and actually like kind of gave us some advice of like, hey, just welcome to the beach, and just so you know, make sure when you're talking to the vendors that come along the beach, and for people who haven't been to like Latin American countries, there's like vendors that come and sell you everything, so you don't have to bring anything, any kind of food or drinks, they just bring it for you. But they're like, just make sure you agree on the price up front, because they'll try to give you a sample sometimes and then charge you for it if you eat it like at a crazy price. And so it was really like a great experience all around, from both like interactions with like government, police, all the way down to cab drivers and just people we'd meet at the parks and street.
that's good to hear. For me and my experience in the Cartagena area was nothing but pleasant. I was there on a holiday weekend with that. One of the weekends I was there was a holiday weekend, and I didn't realize Colombian holiday. And as a single guy, those vendors, especially the ones who are selling other things, are get really aggressive. But that's probably not. They're probably not going to hassle you. You're hanging out with your wife and kids, so
No, it
that's
wasn't
super.
until we got to Mexico. We went to Sayulita, north of Puerto Vallarta, and that was the first time we actually were like propositioned to be sold drugs there. I had a guy come up, and it was like early in the morning too. We were like walking around to find a breakfast place with the kids, and my father was with us, the kid's grandfather, and I was just like, "You think we're your ideal client? Like, you got to work on your
Yeah,
marketing."
yeah. You got to adjust your target demographic there, like and. Yeah. Yeah, I think most of the people who get in trouble in, you know, these Latin American countries that most people assume are so dangerous are just in the wrong spot. I've told people time and time again, in Mexico, if you're not doing drugs, running drugs, taking drugs, buying drugs, selling drugs, you're probably gonna be okay. You can find all the trouble you want, but if you stay out of certain areas, out of the nightclubs and all that, chances are you're gonna be fine. And then I'm glad you had that experience as well in Colombia.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a general rule almost anywhere in the world. Like if you go out, and we say in our family, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And so if you're not out playing stupid games, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, so how long are you going to be in Guadalajara and what's next after that?
Yeah, so we try to do what we call slow travel. There's a lot of cost and complication with changing locations with the family of five. And so we really want to have the opportunity to get to know a location, experience the culture, see everything there is to do. And so we're in Guadalajara for about 37 days. We were, like I said before, in Puerto Vallarta for 2 months before that. So we'll in total have a little over 3 months in Mexico. And then after that, we're going to be spending the Christmas holiday for a couple of weeks in Hawaii. We're going to see the volcanoes on the Big Island and then spend some time with family on Kauai. And after that, we're going to the Philippines and we're going to be spending a month there. I have a business that has a lot of employees in the Philippines. So we're going to be having some parties with my employees and getting to see them in person for the first time. And then we've got travel booked beyond that for a couple months in Vietnam, a week in South Korea on our way over to Japan, where we'll be for about 3 months. And then we're going to do a week in Sri Lanka before hopping over to the United Kingdom.
Oh, okay. So you got the itinerary down.
Yeah, we've got a lot booked out. I think we're booked through like the end of June at this point. We haven't like made specific lodging arrangements yet in the UK, so it's still kind of flexible about how long we can stay there. The UK is a great country for Americans as far as visa length. Like, I think we can stay there for 6 months on the default visa, so that's definitely
Oh
something
wow.
to kind of look at on the different countries. Some are shorter, some are longer, and so that's something we got to be aware of when we're traveling.
Yeah, I think anybody who's going to be bouncing country to country really needs to kind of investigate that. I'm very much like you in that I like the what you call slow travel, like you said. I like to stay in a place for a month or two, really get to know it, and then move on. And that usually works pretty good with the different visa lengths. When I was in Vietnam, I just got a 30-day visa, but Vietnam is absolutely amazing, one of my favorite countries on earth. So you're gonna love that. Thailand's a little bit easier. They'll give you 60 days right off the bat, and it can renew it for another 30 very automatically. Cambodia, you can stay pretty much as long as you want. You just got to go down and let them know, hey, I'm going to stay another 30 days.
Oh,
So
wow. That's great.
infrastructure isn't that great there. It's a little bit behind, but fantastic. So I love the travel. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of it now. Give me a little bit on your background as far as what you did, and then also your mindset and what you wanted to make this jump.
Yeah, so my background was working as a computer engineer. I worked in the defense industry for about 15 years and, very much a, employee W-2 mindset. I really enjoyed my job. Honestly, it was great, had great salary, great benefits, worked on meaningful projects. We got introduced to real estate investing starting around like 2013, very lightly, like renting out our basement. House hacking is the term for it now. And that
Yeah.
kind of grew and grew until 2016, where we bought our first standalone investment property and just kind of kept building that portfolio as mostly a means of just diversification. And I had a really generous 401k package at my work. And so we were just trying to kind of diversify what we had outside of that, outside of the stock market, which was what we were limited to in the 401k. We started really understanding the power that we could have with real estate with the passive income. I would say in like 2020, 2019, 2020, my wife became a licensed realtor and we moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee from Northern Virginia, which was a kind of like the defense mecca, if you will, of defense jobs.
Yeah.
And we like doubled down big time on real estate investing. We bought a bunch of property in Tennessee. It was an ideal market. Interest rates were like at historical lows. So we just gobbled up property. And that was transformational. It got to the point very quickly then where like our passive income from the real estate and the net worth building that was happening outpaced what I was making as a highly paid computer engineer. And
Yeah.
so we kind of looked at it like, maybe there are things I can do with my time that will actually generate more value to our community, to people who are in our network, and to our family than just working for someone else. And so I resigned from that job in like early 2022, and I was kind of having an introspection moment of like, what do I know? What can I do that can really help other people? That's like our unique advantage. And we looked back and it's like, well, one of the tools that we used a lot in our real estate investing and in my wife's real estate business as an agent and her team was leveraging virtual assistants to help with operations, bookkeeping, marketing, things like that in our businesses and keeping track of everything. And so we started a new business, Workergenix, to just really make it easy for other business owners to have the same kind of success we did. And so fast forward to 2023, we're like, hey, we've always wanted to travel. We kind of had this like long-term plan of like, all right, when our now 8-year-old gets to like eighth grade, which was the end of courses at the Montessori school that our kids were enrolled in there in Tennessee, then we can take them out, we can travel the world and do that. But then we're like, is that like a limiting belief? We try to like have goal meetings every quarter and just talk about what do we want, what are we doing to achieve these goals. And it's very helpful to just like always think about, well, what do we think that might be a limiting belief and isn't really true? And if we just like take the leap and do it now, we can achieve that goal faster. And so we're like, well, why don't we just homeschool? My wife has a background as an educator, so that kind of like made it a little bit easier for us. And with COVID, everybody was doing homeschool effectively for a while with the lockdowns. So it's like there was great infrastructure for that online curriculum. And so we just pulled our kids out of school at the start of their Christmas break and started homeschooling domestically while we were still living in our house. And then in February of 24, we rented it out and started just doing domestic travel. We got to see a lot of the United States. We spent some time in Puerto Rico, did a 21-day cruise from Miami through the Panama Canal up to Seattle. And then in June, went down to Cartagena, Colombia.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Real estate can be, I have a background in real estate, and real estate can be an amazing vehicle for that. And when you got in, was it the right time?
Yeah.
With interest rates and property values. And right now, it's a little bit of a different environment in terms of real estate investing in the US. So I know I am looking to expand out and buy properties in other countries. Is that something that's on the radar for you as well?
We're definitely talking about it. We're still kind of playing with the idea of maybe having a 6-month-a-year home base somewhere. And so that's definitely something when we visit different cities that we're evaluating. We're like, hey, do we see ourselves wanting to spend 6 months here? There's certainly advantages to having kind of a home base. That's long enough time the kids can get enrolled in more organized sports, get enrolled in some more intensive programs with local academic institutions, things like that. Have a place that we can call our own, store our stuff instead of having like all of our personal effects in a storage locker where they are now. So, it's definitely on the table. I don't, you just got to be careful about the different, economic environments in these different countries. And just make sure you understand the risks, and just like you would be investing in the US. So there's definitely opportunity. I mean, I know we talked with some investors while we were in Medellin, and they were doing very well investing there. They would buy smaller, like studio 1, maybe 2-bedroom condos and put them on Airbnb, and really tailor them for digital nomads. Put the desks in there, make it a nice workstation, and they were just killing it.
Yeah, that's a great business model. Personally, I've been looking more in Southeast Asia. I think the two places that I'm probably going to purchase first are Bali and Thailand.
Nice.
Although Colombia is a very attractive proposition as well, especially with the exchange rate and everything. So, I'm not set. I have to explore some different areas first because I'm like you. I'm looking to set up a home base. Right now, all my stuff is in storage, like you.
Yep.
And currently that storage unit is my buddy in Minnesota, friend from high school. But there's something to be said for having your own place. And for me, I like Bangkok. There's no beach there, but as far as a hub to explore that area of the world, I mean, flights are just cheap everywhere around there. Like I flew from Thailand to Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. That was like $49.
Yeah, it's incredible the flight deals you can get in that Southeast Asian area. We use like flightconnection.com and like Google Flights a lot to look for things. And kind of a funny side story like related to the flights, when we were looking at figuring out where we were going and how we were going to get there, leaving Tokyo this coming June, we were playing around with those different tools. And I was like, anywhere we were kind of considering trying to get to London. As like a total aside, we also are like trying to make our way to Portugal. We're considering doing like the Portugal Golden Visa. And so we're like, we got to get there and check it out. So we're like, we kind of want to skip over a bunch and the world and get over there quickly. So it's going to be a long haul flight. And, for us, we're like, maybe there's going to be a good deal with business class. Because like if we're going to do that long haul, it is much more comfortable. And we were able to get a long haul business class flight from Hawaii to the Philippines using credit card points. And, we do a lot of credit card hacking. So like, what can we do? Well, we found this crazy deal on Sri Lankan Airlines where it was actually cheaper to fly from Tokyo to Colombo, Sri Lanka, and then to London in business class, then for the family of five, so getting five business class tickets, then one business class like direct flight from Tokyo to London, or even directly from Sri Lanka to London. It was like totally bizarre, some kind of weird glitch with like the multi-hop or multi-city like flight tool, pricing mechanism, but it worked out great. So we were
Yeah.
able to do like a week long, fully guided tour that has like safaris and train rides and all this kind of stuff while we're in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, it's amazing what kind of deals you can find, especially if you're a little bit flexible.
Yes.
And like I'm pretty good at using credit card points, but I've got a lot of learning to do in that area. But I think I was in 22 airports last year, but some of the flights I paid for, like the flight to Ho Chi Minh City, it was $50. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spend my points on that, but I use my points. I got my absolute two favorite airways in the world now are Etihad Airlines and Qatar.
Oh, yeah. What do you like about them?
It, they are so nice. The seats are comfortable. You have leg room. The customer service is absolutely impeccable. You get a meal. Like on Etihad Airlines, they served a meal. You had actual cloth napkins. You had metal silverware. You had a metal
Oh
fork,
my
spoon,
goodness.
and knife. And just the level of services was out of this world. And it was just comfortable. I mean, I flew coach. I was using my points, but it felt like I was getting the business class treatment or first class treatment, and I was in coach,
That's
and
awesome.
absolutely fantastic. So, and I got to spend a little bit of time in Abu Dhabi when I was going to Thailand. I kind of extended my layover there, and then went Qatar. I stayed like a day there. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, both were absolutely fantastic. But yeah,
Yeah. It's a
I've got
great
to get better.
opportunity.
I've got to get better at hacking the airline points and making the most of them. But still, when you're using your credit card, especially for business purposes, those points add up quick.
Exactly. Yeah. We're always looking for ways we can, keep it on the credit card and get those points.
Yep. So you've got the real estate investments, obviously, but what about the Workergenix program? You set up like a VA service out of the Philippines, correct? How did that come
Yeah.
about?
So we were using the virtual assistants to help with things like bookkeeping, email newsletters, editing videos, social media, general admin work as in the real estate team, the contract to close process, assembling the offer paperwork, sending things out for each signatures, following up with leads, doing text messaging, phone calls, confirming appointments. And then on our real estate side, managing service providers. So we have vacation homes in the Myrtle Beach area. If something breaks or a guest has a complaint, the virtual assistant is able to go through our list of service providers, call them, set the appointment, make sure everything's handled, get photographic evidence, get the bill, pay it on the credit card, get those points for us. So it's just like hands off for us. And it's great having that support. And we found that the Filipino culture really they make ideal employees. They are, not as a knock against them, it's just the culture in general is not very entrepreneurial. They really like stable jobs. They have a very low cost of living. So you're able to save a lot on cost compared to what you might have to pay someone local in the US to do the similar job. And they have unique skill sets that are tailored to what American businesses need that can be done on the phone or computer that we're able to find people that have like combinations of core skill strengths that you wouldn't expect to have together. So, for example, you might have someone that can do QuickBooks Online bookkeeping really well, and they also have experience doing some social media management. And so, with one assistant from our company, people are able to have the job done that normally would take two or three different people, whether they're, different virtual assistants or in-person people, because that's typically people just say like, oh, I'm an accountant or I'm a marketing person. They don't have that combination of skills. And we're able to find people that have that combo because we offer much higher salaries, benefits, and have a really strong internal culture. We help them with like loans when they need it for financial assistance. Like they just got hit with double typhoons. A lot of our employees had all their possessions flooded. And so we were able to help with interest free payroll advances so they could get things replaced and get made whole very quickly.
That's super important. I've used VAs out of the Philippines extensively, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And for me, what stood out with them compared to employees that I had in the US was just the sheer amount of work ethic.
Yeah.
that they have. It's absolutely astounding. Nobody's trying to take a emotional rest day or anything like that. If they're anything, they're volunteering their time. But well, this still needs to be done. I'm going to work. I'm like, you don't, no, relax. It's okay. We can do it tomorrow. But that the level of work ethic and competency as well, because
Mhm.
I had 5 VAs when I had my credit repair business and absolutely fantastic. Some of them had master's degree. I had a girl that worked for Capital One for 7 years. So she had an
Yeah.
intimate knowledge of the credit card system in the U.S. and how to speak to people on that level. So it was just absolutely phenomenal. And I've got a good friend of mine that has a VA business based out of the Philippines as well.
Hmm.
And you guys sound kind of similar because he takes care of his people. Like that, like
Yeah.
you said, something happened. Something happened with medical, and one of his employees, and their newborn baby had something, and they basically had money to either take care of the kid or pay rent.
Yeah.
And they were going to move into their car, take care of their kid, and then go find another place. And he was like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
And he messaged his he's based out of Texas, but his COO is in the Philippines, and he's like, give them $1,000 US, tell them to get a place. It's not a loan, just take it. I'm not going to have anybody living in a damn car.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. But
Yeah.
it goes to establishing that culture. And I think he's got 250, 300, but they are just savagely loyal because he treats them right.
Absolutely. That's the most important thing. And it's like they will turn down higher paying jobs if you have great culture and connections with the employees. It's really
Yeah.
incredible. And it makes them ideal employees to support US businesses because you just can't find that kind of loyalty in the US. There's a scale called the Power Scale Index. And I forget who made it, but it measures like kind of loyalty and how people treat their like authority figures like a boss or a client. And in the Philippines, it's like a 90 out of 100. So they have like the same level of respect and commitment to their employer or their clients as they would like an elder in their family. Versus like the U.S. is like a 30 on that scale. Most U.S. employers like, hey, I'm in this job for me. Like if it doesn't serve me, I'm out.
Yeah, I noticed that with my VAs in the Philippines. They wanted to find some place that was good and stay there. They weren't looking to bounce, but I treated mine very, very well as well. I'm still friends with several of them. Like now they've moved on. One's in Oregon. She got married to a guy from the U.S. and all that, but
Oh, nice.
still good friends. They're just absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. And I know people, well, a lot of people, especially kind of older people, are hesitant to that because they think of the scam and fraud that used to be common in the Philippines, but it's not really that prevalent in there after Duarte got in there. He made the penalty so high for doing any of that that everybody's like,
Yeah, and they do have a pretty good system there for getting like federal level background checks. And so that's one of the things that we require for all of their employees is that they have to submit, proof from the federal government that they have a clean criminal background. And so that just gives an, additional level of trust. One of the advantages that we found when people work with an agency, especially a US based one, is if something were to happen, you've got a US entity that's responsible for it. So versus like if
yep,
you went out and you're just trying to hire your own VA and something bad happens, and I actually heard this happened to someone, like they gave them full access to their PayPal. It was not a Filipino VA, it was someone else, and they like drained as much money as they could before like the fraud alert hit it. But it's like, if you're doing that on your own, you're really on your own. There's no recourse.
yeah, yeah. I've hired two freelance, on the own, but all the rest I went through an agency. And if anybody's thinking of going that route, I would absolutely say go through an agency.
Yeah,
A reputable agency like yours who does the background checks, does the training, does all of that. 'Cause then you're going to get somebody who is not just looking to scam somebody. They've gone through that process.
absolutely.
So what other is that's your two main cash flow vehicles is the VA business and the real estate?
Yeah, and related to the real estate, we also do like private investments. So we'll be like capital partners on larger deals that someone else is organizing. So like someone wants to go buy, like a small apartment building or something like that. We'll be a capital partner with them. And then I also do like real estate coaching and mentoring along with what I call like it's called hard money lending. So we've got a few real estate investors back in the Chattanooga area who flip homes, or they buy homes, renovate them, and then rent them out using what's called the BRRRR strategy. And I help them do that with really easy funding. It's, I get rid of all the headache that's typically associated with getting money from a bank, and
Yep.
then partner with them as like their coach. Like I'm texting them daily, how's the deal going? What should, they ask questions like, hey, here's my offers for purchasing the house. Like, which one do you think I should go with? Strategies and stuff like that. It's really fulfilling to just share the knowledge and experience that I've built up over the years doing real estate and pass that on to the next generation of real estate investors.
That's amazing. That's good because there's a lot of hard money guys out there, but a hard money guy who's actually going to be involved and help coach you through the process. That's a good thing. That's a really
Exactly.
good
We're not
thing.
out there to try to get you in bad deals and bad terms and then foreclose. Like I want these guys to be successful and make a lot of money.
Well, if they're successful, they're going to come back.
That's right. They tell me every
And
time
you'll,
that's like, hey, even though they're making tons of money, they can probably fund their own deals now. They're like, we just love working with you. And so we're going to keep borrowing. You get a little bit on the interest and we get that coaching relationship, and it's a win for everybody.
that's what it's about, creating those relationships and a win-win for everybody because then everybody can build and everybody can grow together. It's like they say, what a rising tide raises all ships.
Exactly right.
What was the mindset with you and in particular your wife?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've talked to a lot of people, couples, maybe with a kid or a couple of kids, who really are considering this type of nomadic lifestyle or global citizen or just even just moving to another country and just doing an expatriate thing. Many times the the wife will have concerns where the kids are and okay. So what was that kind of the mindset shift with you? How did you guys kind of overcome those things when you were
Yeah.
considering making that move?
There's so much to unpack there. I mean, people will try to like pin what, maybe they call it like shadow beliefs on certain other things that aren't really the issue. Like, oh, well, if we travel, our kid can't be in Little League. Well, what is the point of Little League, right? To build character. Your kid is
Yeah,
probably not going to go to the MLB, so you're not putting them in Little League to go to the MLB. Like you're doing it to build character, or you're doing it for selfish reasons. So you got to
right.
be real about what are you doing this for, and then how can you get that experience, or the value that you're trying to get from that while traveling. And I think once you think about all the experiences you can have while traveling and learn about the resources that are out there. There's tons of Facebook groups for people that are expats in these major cities, and you can just join those before going and be like, hey, I've got 3 kids. Here's their ages. Like, do you have any meetups or mom support groups or things like that? And odds are there are, and it's that infrastructure is already there with other people that are already doing this, and they can help you along the way. The other thing is just think about what are your long-term goals. What do you want your life to be like, and do you want to be like tied in one place all the time? Some people like that. They like being close to their family. They like having deep roots in an area. For us, we kind of moved quite a bit over our careers. Like we were in California and Virginia and Tennessee, and so like we weren't living close to family. We didn't really have like strong roots or ties to any particular place. And so it was a little bit easier for us in that respect to just say, hey, we're going to travel internationally now. Another thing that helped was doing domestic travel a lot in advance. So we've always enjoyed traveling. Even before being digital nomads, we probably spent 10% of every year traveling, whether it's just going to our beach house or visiting family in other parts of the country. So like our kids are used to staying in a hotel, staying in Airbnb, doing home exchanges, things like that, being in new places. And so that really helps make it a lot easier when you start doing the nomadic lifestyle and like having a new home every month, to just make sure everybody in the family is used to that, and then just ask questions and talk to your family about it. That was another thing that we did, was like before getting on the plane and going to Colombia, for months before, we talked to the kids and said like, hey guys, we're thinking about living in Colombia for 3 months and traveling. Like, what are some things that you would be concerned about if we left our house in Chattanooga? And so they'd be like, oh, well, I would really miss my toys or this particular toy. Like, okay, well, let's pick like 1 or 2 of your toys. And if it can fit in your backpack, let's bring it.
Yeah,
And so, or like, hey, you're going to miss like, going to the zoo. All right, well, we'll make sure that every city that has a zoo that we go to, we're going to that zoo.
love it. How did the kids react when you were first in a foreign country? How did they adapt with that?
They did really well. I think like the most stressful thing, and it still is stressful, is just those travel days, like going through crowded airports or bus stations or things like that. It can be overwhelming even for adults. And so, it's really important to be sensitive and mindful to just like the experience your kid is going through. Because as the parents, like we're already kind of stressed, especially going to a new country, different language where, we kind of spoke Spanish a little bit, but like, especially in Cartagena, the accent was really heavy and they spoke so fast. Like it was basically like we didn't understand what they were saying. So, that is already stressing. And then the kids can feel that. And so just being mindful of that, slow things down, communicate well with the family and, do little treats. One thing we try to do as well is like just ask like, hey, what's one thing you'd really want to do while we're in this country? And maybe we can do some research. We do like watch YouTube videos of travel influencers who say like top 10 things to do in Cartagena, top 10 things to do in Medellin, and show it to the kids in advance and be like, what are those things would you like to do? And so like, our kids like trains or things, transportation like that. And so when we're in Medellin, we made it a point we're going to use the public transportation a little bit. We're going to go on the train that they've got. We're going to go on the cable cars and do that experience for our kids.
That's great. And they seem to have adapted, and are they enjoying it, or what's the vibe with the kids?
Yeah, I think they're really excited, and we just keep pumping up the new places we're going. Like our daughter is really, really excited to go to Japan, and like so we'll talk about all the fun things we're going to do while we're in Japan, and so they have something to look forward to. We talk about the cool things we're going to do in the UK, so it's like there's this long horizon of things that they're always looking forward to, and each time we get to a place like, hey, remember like 3 months ago we were talking about doing this, and now we're doing it. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Well, I think, letting them kind of have a say in some of the things that you do so they have something that they're really looking forward to. That's going to get rid of a lot of the anxieties or fears or maybe things like that. What would you say to somebody who, maybe has a family, kids, and they're thinking of making that leap? Because I know that even for a single person or a younger person, that can be a little bit easier. When you get older, a little bit more settled. And like you said, everybody's different. Some people have really deep roots in some place. But what would you say to that type of person who's considering taking on this lifestyle?
Yeah, well, one thing to consider and set things up for is say, like, you know what? Let's not make this permanent. Let's kind of hedge our bets a little bit. That gives everyone some more comfort, right? And so one thing that we did was like, we don't know if we're going to like living in another country for a long time. So we're like, worst case, we just come back. And so rather than like selling everything and having cutting all ties, we just took our personal stuff from our house, put it in a storage locker, left the main furnishings there, and got a 12-month furnished lease on the house. So we've got a great tenant. We didn't have to move all the big furniture and have that big cost. And we have someone that's like taking care of the home. We're making our mortgage payments and all the expenses are covered by someone else and a little bit extra that goes a lot further in these other countries. So that's the other thing, like from a financial standpoint, make a budget. If people aren't doing a budget domestically already, like I always recommend just from a general finance health standpoint, have a budget and stick to it. And then make a travel budget. So you're going to have some changes in your expenses, right? You're going to have a little bit more on transportation probably, because like you're going to be doing flights every month or so. But you might have a lot less in other areas. So one big savings for a lot of people, depending on how they have it set up, is like the health insurance. Health insurance can be so expensive in the United States, but when you go to these other countries, like if you really only need like emergency coverage, and you can get like digital nomad travel insurance. Like for our family of five, I think we pay maybe $160 a month for like safety wing, and that
Really?
covers kind of the emergency catastrophic type events. And you can just pay cash for everything else. So when we were in Medellin, we got a ton of great dental service there. So like it was a 6 month mark for dental cleaning. We went in, it was like a luxurious spa like experience, really comfortable chairs. They did like a steam aromatherapy. They had like nice mask and like ambient music, and it was super affordable. I think we probably spent maybe 150 US dollars equivalent for our family of five to get full dental cleanings there.
It's insane the prices because I got a full smile redesign, 20 teeth, veneers, everything. So I had some chips and some veneers that were older, and I used to fight, do Muay Thai and stuff like that. So I just wanted it completely done. I didn't want to try and piecemeal stuff together. And I got that done in Barranquilla, Colombia. The guy was absolutely fantastic. Like
Yeah.
he was a facial surgeon, and then he had gone to like the top cosmetic dental school in Australia. His English was phenomenal. The service was phenomenal. He drove me personally from his office to the X-ray. They didn't have an X-ray in the office. put
Yeah.
me in his car, drove me there, and like that level of personal touch. I probably got charged more than for an average Colombian person walked in there, but you know, I got 20 teeth for $5,000. I got quoted anywhere from 40 to 80,000 in the
Mm,
US. Anywhere from
yeah.
$2,000 to $4,000 per tooth.
Yep. I believe it.
And oh, go ahead. I was just saying, I'm super happy. I love it. Not a single
Yeah.
problem.
No, I'm glad you mentioned like their training. I mean, the dentists that we had that we went to, they were like board certified in the U.S. and still practicing in Medellin. They've got great surgeons down there too. So if you need some kind of like surgery that maybe isn't covered by insurance in the U.S., like definitely check out these other countries. Even if you're not going to do like the full Nomad thing, but just consider it. I mean, honestly, I wish I had known about the dental service alone in Medellin before. It would have been cheaper to just fly our family of five down there for like a weekend, get all the teeth cleaned, and go back than what we were paying in dental insurance back in the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah. It's insane. It's insane. I had a friend of mine got her teeth done in Vietnam. They look absolutely fantastic. It was cheaper than I paid in Colombia.
Yeah, there's
And
an incredible world
yeah,
out there.
it is. There's so much out there. And I remember talking to some of my friends in the US and I'm telling them I'm going to Colombia to get my teeth done. And it's like they had this picture of like kind of a back alley Tijuana dentist thing. I'm like, no, this is a
Organ
legit,
harvesting going on or something.
yeah. I'm like, still got my kidneys. I'm like, okay,
Yep.
I'm good. But yeah, you don't realize it's like a spa type experience.
Yeah, and the
Like,
customer service is
amazing.
incredible. Like we still get WhatsApp messages from the physicians and the dentists that we use in Colombia, just like checking in and seeing how we're doing. Like we never got that kind of treatment in the U.S. at the with the meds. It was just like, oh, we'll see you for 30 seconds. Oh, and the other thing is, the dentist does the cleaning there, so that it's like
Yeah.
you have an actual dentist and a hygienist for the entire time. It's not just the dentist coming in for 30 seconds to like look at your teeth and be like, yep, I got my billing in.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the level of service that I encountered was fantastic. The quality is fantastic. And yeah, because you save just what you save on there pays for your whole vacation if you
Absolutely.
want to go down there. So that's awesome. Well, hey, I want to wrap this up, but if people want to reach you, whether it's for hard money or for VA services or whatever, I'm obviously I'm gonna put all your links in the notes and all that, but where can they reach you? What's the best way to get a hold of
Yeah,
Harley
so
Green?
if you would just go to workergenix.com/Harley, I've got my Calendly there. Love to network with people and just hear what you're doing and see how we can help each other.
Sounds like a plan. If you're looking for any of those services, reach out to Harley. Good guy. Appreciate you coming on, man. And hopefully, maybe one day we can meet up if you're over in Asia at the same time or something like that. Would be fantastic.
Absolutely, Steve. This has been great. Thank you so much.